Which way? Which way? Which way? I am live and trying. I'm trying to angle this up. Oh, all right. This is why we start a little early. Get everything in scope. Getting my yeah. Whew, whew. Hey everyone. All right. Let's forward this out to people so they can join a little bit early. All right, let's get started. Well, I'm still a bit early, so sending things out to people. I have my ring light, I remembered it, and I forgot to turn that one off. But that's okay. We are going to roll with the punches. All right, so people are going to be watching this after I am live here, so I have to remember that. Um, Yeah, so a bit early. Hoping people will jump in. I'm a bit tired. I have a presentation tomorrow that I was preparing for, and quite a bit going on. Working on my first course now for what I'm terming the winter warm up. And that course is finished, but it still hit a snafu. I'm like, Mercury isn't in retrograde. Why should I have these issues? But, anyways, good night, everyone. Good night. Come on in. I see I have people coming in. Come in, come in, come in, come in, come in. Join the live. I need I need y'all to share this, please. Don't make me feel like a Saturday night DJ just here on the thing, just doing my own thing and into the void. Tonight's topic, I'm going to be talking about landing your first job in compliance. And so clearly it's for people who are not in compliance. Now, last week, let's start off with last week. Last week, I didn't have a live. I went to Anguilla last week. Anguilla was amazing, and it was a quick in and out trip. Had some business to take care of, and while I was there, I also did some personal bits, including some new professional photos. And the photographer there, he is amazing. If ever in Anguilla, shameless plug to Kiroy Brown. He is just flawless. He doesn't miss. And it's not just professional shots, if you have events or anything else, and he's not paying me or endorsing, I get nothing from saying that. But when you do see the pictures, I'll post some of them in the community space. You'll see what I was talking about. I'm pleased. I'm very pleased. So last week I was in Anguilla, just and I came back on Wednesday, but I was too tired to even entertain doing a live, or at least it would have been a live looking at me yawning or something. So that's why I posted in the community post. I'm going to be posting in the community post a little more often. I also had a bit of a snafu with my membership ignition tier. So I'm still working out the bugs for that. And I am going to double back on that and get people in, because we're going to be starting some trainings and discussions that are going to be just in the member space. Very soon, very soon. I'm also starting my podcast, so that's going to be coming out very soon as well. So a lot of developments are coming up, and I'm excited about that. But tonight's topic is one that I've been asked a lot about. I've been asked by young people, by people mid-career, by people who are looking to retire, but they're still young and vibrant and think they have something to offer to society, and they definitely do. And I've had a lot of people asking me about how do I get a job in compliance? Like, how do they do it? And what I would tell, I've had the individual conversations, and I was like, well, why not have a live on it since so many people are interested in it? And you could be seeking to transition your career from the beauty space into compliance. You could be seeking to get into compliance fresh out of college. You could be in financial services or working around certain other businesses and realize that certain other businesses also require compliance help. Also got a little bit of sniffles, but don't worry about that. I'm good. I'm good. And so tonight I am going to be going over a number of things. Now, before I jump in, I want to give my disclaimer. The views on this channel are definitely all my own, do not reflect the views of any regulatory authority or international standard setter. And so I'm just leaving it short and diving in. So people ask about how do I get a job in compliance? And this is and you've stumbled across my channel, you don't know me. I'm focusing on AML, anti-money laundering compliance, and regulatory compliance for financial services and DNFBPs. And so DNFBPs includes lawyers, accountants, real estate agents, high value good dealers, jewelers. So in this part of the world, that includes like the Colombian Emeralds, Little Switzerland, and some of the other bigger chains. It also includes casinos. I'm sure I'm missing somebody in there. Notaries, oh, and TCSPs. And why I would miss that is because in the BVI, we treat them like financial institutions. So trust and corporate services providers are also in scope for AML, CFT supervision and need compliance professionals. So this is not marine compliance. This is not aviation compliance. This is not healthcare compliance. This is AML and regulatory compliance. And so, from that vantage point, I've been asked in my career, and very recently, even more questions come about how do I land my first job? People are talking about like there's a need for so many compliance professionals. How do I get in? And so, I did a list of five things. And I think this five actually can apply for anyone that's seeking a job in almost any field that they want to excel in. The first thing you need to do before you even apply for the first job, check your social media footprint, your digital footprint. Do you have a social media footprint that's about to show out on your Trini Carnival escapades or your Soca Monarch and Uber Soca moments? And so this is now for the Caribbean vibe. There are, Caribbean festivals in Toronto and London, but it can even go beyond that, nightclub outings that are a little risque. Look at your social media footprint and see whether that speaks to what is still deemed a very conservative area of work. And why I say that, you might be saying, well, Simone, that's a bit far. Why should I be concerned about what people see on my social media profile? You want the job, don't you? Right? It's not about somebody else begging you for a job. You want the job. And so in compliance and in financial services, people conduct due diligence. And there's something called know your employee. A lot of people talk about know your customer, so KYC, which is a misnomer for due diligence. There is something that's known as know your employee. So research is done about employees, whether you're in compliance or not. So don't be surprised if you are on the job hunt for another role and you're having difficulties getting a job if your social media profile is looking a little suspect. So check your social media and your digital footprint. What have you been seeing? Have you been opining on a number of topics publicly? Again, it's free speech, but it's the impression that you're giving out. Are you a level-headed professional? Is this a person that we want to embrace within the firm? or is this somebody that likes to be around a lot of drama and circumstances that might not align with a firm's values? And nine times out of 10, firms that are looking for compliance resources are not looking for people who are, um, let's say, more colorful in their social media footprint. So, number one, check your social media footprint, your digital footprint, and see whether that needs cleaning up, because KYE will be done on you. And KYE may stop you from getting in the door, even if you have the perfect resume and application letter. And now that moves me into point number two: your resume, your CV, your application letter. Let's just start with your the resume or CV, whatever jurisdiction you're in, and whatever you call it. It has to be tailored according to the job that you have. And I mentioned this in a prior live, that for myself, I've been updating my CV on an ongoing basis, even while I was with one employer essentially for 23 years. It's good business practice to make sure that you update your CV every time you have a job change. Stay nimble. Things. This is a very quickly changing world, and so you want to make sure that you are in a position um, to definitely leverage any opportunities that may come up. So if somebody needs your resume this afternoon, you wouldn't have to update it. You should always have it. But with that being said, you need to make sure that your resume is tailored for the compliance role. Let it show that you have investigative skills and analytical skills, that you have good writing skills, and that it's concise. So make sure that you tailor your resume. And I know that there are a lot of resources online. In fact, people use ChatGPT for almost everything. Be careful with that, because when you use AI to help draft the resume, there are a lot of tools now that use the same AI to determine whether someone has used AI to write, whether the job application letter or the resume. So be careful with that, but make sure it's tailored and that you read it over. Also, remember, AI is not infallible. So you have to actually be able to read and understand, and then go back and tailor that resume according to the job that you're applying for. Another point I would like to add: when you're working on a CV and you're sending it out, make sure, and your application letter, make sure that it is tailored to the firm that you're applying to. So AML regulatory compliance jobs are many, but the organizations may be different. So if it's a job in relation to a bank, and then you're applying to one for an insurance company, and then one for a trust and corporate services provider, those three CVs and job application letters should be tailored accordingly and reflect that you have some deeper appreciation of the nuanced requirements for each of those areas, for each of those subsectors. Including things like an awareness of maybe the FATF risk-based guidance that is specifically drafted for that one single solitary industry, or some sort of topical discussion point. It could be a news story. So, for example, with banks are really always featuring in the news, and it's not that they feature more than anyone else. I think in relation to enforcement action, I think it's that they get more press from the media, and not necessarily that they're that they're worse than others. That may be debatable. But banks, you would see, need increasing compliance resources, and you would see that there are there's a need for persons to address, say, transaction monitoring. So if you're looking for a job in a bank and you've seen that banks are being brought to bear by the regulator in whichever country you're in relation to transaction monitoring, you need to tailor your resume, if that's the job you're going to show attention to detail, that you know how to use technologies, and that you're a quick learner, and that you know how to use your judgment in terms, and that you can document. So again, tailor the resume, I think, is point two that I would want to belabor um, in relation to getting a job in compliance. Um, The third point, so you've done the social media checks and you check your digital footprint, you've cleaned that up, you've tailored your CV and made sure that it looks crisp, the application letter is tailored and nuanced to the job that you're applying to. The next thing is to prep for the interview. And this is where sometimes a lot of people fail. You get ready, you get called for an interview. It could be an in person interview or virtual interview. Make sure you keep it stoic, basic. Make sure you present the best self and make sure that you speak clearly. Now, if it is an in person interview, you show up early for the interview, 10 minutes early. Do not show up at the time that the interview is 7 o'clock. You do not show up at 7 o'clock. You show up at 6:50, not 6:55, 6:50. If you're on time, you're late. So you need to show up a bit early to make sure that any anxiety and any nerves that you may have are also gone. You need to make sure that if it's a virtual interview, that you have good lighting, that you check your background. So if you go back to the beginning of this live, when it's posted, you will see that I was adjusting the laptop to make sure that it took out the elliptical trainer that I bought and the stationary bike. And make sure that it's framed in a manner, but I still forgot the light. Yeah, that light that's behind my head, forgot to turn that off because, so you want to make sure that you check the surroundings for a virtual meeting. You make sure you mute devices, put your do not disturb up, make sure that you turn off other devices, but importantly, make sure, and especially if you live in a jurisdiction like this, and I do this for my meetings, my trainings, and my lives, have your Wi-Fi on a backup battery. Oh my gosh, because electricity hasn't been an issue, but you never know. You can have a power outage, and this is not a Caribbean thing. Look at Germany. Germany had power outages here for an extended period of time. It happens in different places. And so if it's an extremely long time, then, that's unexpected. Wi-Fi may be out for a different reason. So, you might need data on your phone. So be prepared and budget for those things because, again, you want the job. You need to make sure that you're available. And 9 times out of 10, you're not the only person applying for the job. So think of it like a competition. You need to present your best self for that job and to be prepared. As it relates to dress, I will tell you this: be conservative. No flashy anything. Yes, you can have something that's your signature style, but again, you research the firm. So do due diligence on the firm. And when you are being interviewed, have questions ready for the firm that you are being interviewed by. They expect you to ask questions beyond salary expectations, beyond work hours, and some of the other modalities. You need to research the firm. Well, I looked at the regulator's website and I note you had recent enforcement action in relation to this. Was this one of the driving forces behind the compliance hire? What is the board of directors position as it relates to compliance? How often are compliance reviews expected of the team that I'm going to be appointed on? Is there any special projects? Make sure you have the questions ready because they're going to be expecting it. And it doesn't set you back. It actually helps you, to my mind, it helps you to level up from other competitors for when you are looking for that role in compliance. So you've done the interview prep, you've done your CV, you've done social media. So for the interview prep, you could also have somebody ask you questions. I have done that with people in the past, one off. Can't do it for 100 people, but some of the questions that I went through in terms of asking the firm, consider what they would ask you. Now, you are sitting looking for qualifications. Remember, this is a competition. You're looking for a job. Look at what basic qualifications or short courses or trainings you can get to help you stand out from some of the others. And this is one of the things that kind of irritates me. And it's not because I now have a training company. This is something that irritated me for 100 years. It's It's one of my pet peeves. People will go, want a job, want to be paid a job, paid for a job, want to be paid a high salary for a job, get up and talk about, oh, and then when they get the job, they're like, oh, I work in according to my pay. That's a thing I've heard, right? And when they are wanting to advance, they're told that they need more qualifications or what have you. Oh well, the firm has to pay for this. These are sometimes people in a job. Oh, the firm needs to pay for this, the firm needs to do that. And I am like, what the French toast am I hearing? Yes, some of my qualifications were paid for by my former employer, but I paid for some of my own qualifications myself. So it's like you kind of have to look at what you want to invest in for yourself. And so get you a qualification or certificate in compliance or the field to set you apart. Crypto compliance, very good area. No endorsements, no benefits being received, but Chainalysis is a really good place to start if you're looking for crypto compliance trainings. Ignis Solutions is a really good place to start if you're looking for education that is, of a certain standard to get you the level of knowledge that you need. And I personally get upset with people who say to me, that course is too expensive, and and these are people who are often standing in front of me with a Louis Vuitton over their shoulder or a Coach bag and nice shoes, and it's like I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, priorities. Because if you're saying the training is too expensive, like, you make time and you make a way, or you make excuses. So for the people who are saying that, oh well, some of the save up for it, just like how people save up for certain other purchases, an investment in yourself will never be wasted money. I like Louis Vuitton too. I like nice things too. But there comes a point when you sacrifice for certain things to get the things that you want. And so that's a bit of the passion coming out there. So make sure you go and get a certificate or a diploma if you are wanting to land that job in compliance. And it could be that you're in compliance already, but you want to level up. And so you make sure that you make the sacrifices and you plan for it. So it's not just, people, again, plan fabulous vacations, Punta Cana, they're going on a cruise, they're going here, they're going there, they're going everywhere. And that's fine. I like to travel as well. I was traveling last week. But again, you have to make a decision as to what you're going to invest your money on and whether that investment is going to bring you returns. Okay. So that's the fourth thing. So I would like to say at this point in time, if you're finding value from this, make sure you hit the like, share with people and all of that. And I noticed I don't have a big crowd tonight, and that's fine. People watch the lives after the fact. The fifth thing, I am looking at my notes. The fifth thing I will say in terms of getting a job in compliance is intentional networking. Far too often, people wait until they're looking for a job to ask everybody about, you know anybody who hiring, and then they get a job and they forget about everybody else. And you never hear from them again until they need another job or a reference or something. You need to be intentional about your networking. Maintain your relationships, please. And that includes on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn really actively. In fact, that's the main social media platform that I am on. And other people are like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. They're spending a lot of time on catching up, hosting reels and everything else. And hey, if that's your thing, that's your thing. But think about the other relationships that you need to curate for your professional life. It's not a good look to just pop up on LinkedIn, no posts, you had nothing going on, and then you stick on the badge open to work. Like, get rid of that, get rid of the badge open to work. It is tacky. It is tacky. And there were some other badges that were going around on another social media platform that also weren't, I think they aged like milk. So don't use the badges. Get on the platforms, Treat it like a task. Make sure you engage. You could like a comment. You don't have to post something brilliant every day. You could repost something from an organization that you follow. Follow certain hashtags. You're familiar with doing that on other social media platforms, but be intentional with your networking. And if you're in a jurisdiction that has active associations and groups, join those and make sure that you engage. Now, some of them can be, kind of sporadic, but you'll feel your way around and you'll develop relationships, I think, that can help you land a job. And as you move along in your career, it can also help in terms of upward mobility, because it would be like, hey, I know someone was at this mixer last week, and I understand that XYZ is looking for a senior compliance person. She seems pretty sharp, let's consider her. That's how people get, and sometimes, it's the relationships that make the biggest difference in whether you land a role or not. Just something to think about. The How many things that I give: social media, resume, interview prep, starter qualification, and intentional networking. So that's five, and these five can work for any field. But in relation to compliance, I would also say to you, if you're looking for a job, send in an application with either your local regulator or your financial intelligence unit or other competent authority. In some jurisdictions, there are a lot. There are securities commissions, there are central banks, there are insurance commissioners, pension supervisors, conduct authorities, regulatory authorities. Send in your application. A lot of people are looking for jobs in compliance and forget that regulators also work in compliance. And regulators right now are around the world are hiring. Of course, they will do their background checks. So again, just as a caution, know that you will be subject to scrutiny, whether it's private sector or public sector. In the regulatory ecosystem and public sector ecosystem, the salaries may not be as competitive, but the benefits, the long term benefits, tend to net out to be better. I know that in my case, and some of my other colleagues had really good advantages in comparison to the private sector. I came in with 30 vacation days per annum. Hardly got to use them some years, but I had 30 vacation days per annum. And that, when I got up to director level, that went up to 36 days. I had opportunities for training and travel. I had opportunities to work on certain groups, so FATF typology reports. I've worked on about four of them, and with another international standard setter. And that in itself it lends you to be very employable. Now I've retired and I've opted not to work for any one firm. I've started my own thing. But think about that from a long-term perspective. If it is that you wanted to have a job in compliance, it may be that you realize that, hey, I wanted a job in compliance in the private sector, but I'm loving what I'm seeing in the public sector, and I have the ability to make positive change and to really impact regulation and compliance from this space. So that's bonus tip number one. Consider applying into a regulatory authority or law enforcement agency or financial intelligence unit. And bonus tip number two, if it is that you are wanting to get a job in compliance, consider learning some technical skills like data analytics or even how to code. Because with virtual asset service providers and tokenization and virtual assets, there's going to be a need for people who can understand, say, smart contracts. So you want to make sure that you are well trained in relation to where the future is going. So from that vantage point, I think that the opportunities are great. I think they're great for getting a job in compliance right now, and it's an area that cannot be quickly replaced by AI. AI will enhance compliance, but it will not replace the human beings needed behind compliance. So, short life tonight. I think I've covered the points. Um, I don't know what's happening tonight. It's not even like Valentine's Day. But anyways, so let's recap the points. So we have check your social media profile. A lot of people are all over social media, and based on what they see, I my allergies are acting up. Based on what an employer sees, it may be that, we can't hire you. So make sure that your social media is preventing you from even getting in the door. And then once you are able to get in the door, make sure that your CV and your application letters are golden. Make sure that they're tailored for the job that you want and the firm that you're applying to, and that it reflects that, hey, I am the best fit for this. And while you might be using ChatGPT or some other AI to help you write, people want to see originality, because remember, they are also using tools to see whether you wrote this letter yourself or what percentage of it came from AI. So just something to think about. And they will do background checks on you, because KYE, know your employee, is a thing. You want to do interview prep. A lot of people get anxious about interviews. Depending on who it is, I could still get anxious about interviews. And I remember the last time I got extremely nervous for interview. It wasn't an interview per se, but I was having a call with someone at a very prestigious institution, and they were the head of that particular area, and I was so incredibly nervous, and I had no reason to be. That conversation was amazing, and I confess that, I came in really nervous, because, here it is, I'm talking to, and I put their name and thing, and they were like, no, no, Simone, we actually impressed by you. And I was like, no. So they put you, people are people, and people will put you at ease, because they know sometimes that the interview process is a bit stressful, and that may not be your best showing. So there's a lot of grace that people give you during the interview process. However, it is important for you to be prepared. Make sure that you have questions for your interviewers. They are expecting it, especially if you're going to be working in compliance. It shows that you are switched on. You also need to go and get your qualifications. Remember, the Louis Vuitton bags will always be there. The trips to Punta Cana, the cruises, and everything else, they will always be there. And it's not to say that you shouldn't enjoy your life or not have a vacation, but an investment into self will always be money well spent. Do not talk about how expensive something is and be telling that, like, well, at least don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. People will find a way. It's either you make the excuse or you find a way. So figure it out. If you are serious about this, figure it out. Okay. And don't think like, I've had a golden spoon in my mouth. I paid for my undergraduate degree myself. So if you want to find a way, you can do it. So get that qualification, that certificate, that diploma, and something that will help to set you apart from your competitors, because it is a competition. You need to do intentional networking. Don't just pop up when it is like, oh my God, I need a job. What do I do? Let me go to this place. No, you need to be on LinkedIn from early. Get rid of don't do the open to work badge. React, engage. Think about it like a task until it becomes like a habit. People are actively engaging on Facebook and commenting on 100 things and posting their Instagram reels and on TikTok and everything. Take 15 minutes a day for LinkedIn. You will not regret it. You will not regret it. And it helps keep your name and your identity visible for future opportunities. I've had a lot of people jump into my DMs that have been some incredible opportunities throughout my career, and then even after I retired from regulation. I think the bonus points were to consider applying to a regulatory authority, financial intelligence unit, or law enforcement agency. Although the salaries may not be as competitive, the opportunities and some of the other packages within those authorities might actually be a better fit for you. So consider them if you're looking for a job in compliance and not as a gateway into a job into the private sector. Consider it as a real job because there are lots of opportunities, and regulators, I think, will be evolving in the very near future as well. And then what was the last point? I can't even remember. I had a last point that one wasn't written down. So technical skills, coding, coding. Yes, my allergies are going wild. Coding or technical analysis. I was saying chain analysis is really good. I'm not getting any benefit or any, for endorsing them, and get your training. Ignis Solutions as well. I'll be coming up with some courses very soon. And so, yeah, I think that is it for tonight. I'm going to put some things in the descriptor, the notes for this particular live, but I think I need to take some medication now. Yeah, I'm feeling fine, other than my nose is beginning to run, and I have nothing here to address that. But thank you for those that joined me tonight. And if you're watching this after the live, still feel free to drop in a comment, and I'll catch you on my next one. Thank you guys. And I'll be here next week. So make sure you're locked in 7 o'clock Thursdays. I am aiming to keep this as consistent as possible, barring travel. And I do have some travel coming up in the end of the month. I'll be in Belize to speak for at a conference there. So yeah, so once I'm not traveling, I'll be here. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks. Bye.